On this episode of Carnage, we're putting nitrous on the Mazda. It's a lot heavier now. So, if you've been keeping up with current Carnage events, you'll know that we have put a much larger turbo on the MX5. It's a G42 Pulsar 1450, so very capable turbo. We've also had Dandy Engines build us a whole new motor, so rods, pistons, and it's pretty capable as well. Together, they make 822 horsepower at the rear. That's a lot of power, but it is all kind of up-top power. Down low, not so much. Where the old engine on the old turbo combo made a lot of power down low, not so much up high. It came on boost really well. This, bigger turbo, very much laggier, not much power down low, but lots of power up top. And therefore it's taking 8 to 10 seconds to come up on boost on the two-step. That's a lot of time. Sure, for test and tune sort of stuff, you can do that. You can sit there, bring it up on boost, go and launch and run your number. However, we want to do some racing with this thing in the new year, you know, do some Kenda 660 events, that sort of thing. So we need it to come on boost a lot quicker. So bump into stage, come up on boost, launch and run a decent number. And that's where nitrous will come into play.
I need nice. I need nice.
So the idea with the nitrous in this combo will be not to make more horsepower, but to bring the turbo up on boost quickly. You know, so we'll be able to go on the trans brake, go full throttle, the nitrous will spool the turbo up quickly, and when it reaches the desired boost level, the Haltech will say, switch off the nitrous now, it'll be on boost, we can release the button, and away we go. And 8-second time slips will rain from the sky. I'm pretty confident we would have run an 8 the other day, however, rain came down on the meeting and cut things short, and so we didn't get that 8-second time slip. We're 4 thousandths off our PB. This thing has run 905 3 times now. It's really annoying. However, next time out, we're gonna run 8s. I won't say I promise, but I promise, it's gonna run 8s. Oh, so frustrating. But anyway, we need to get nitrous on this bad boy because we're going racing in, what is it, Wednesday, Saturday? So, we need to get the nitrous on, get it plumbed up, hooked up, Haltech sorted, because we kind of went in very rushed last meeting. We need to have this sorted before we get to the track this time, and that way we won't have the problems that we had last time. So let's hook into it and get it done. So the nitrous kit comes with all these goodies. All right, so this is a full wet kit. We're not going to run it as a wet kit, we're going to run it as a dry kit. So we're only going to need the nitrous solenoid, the nitrous feed line for that solenoid, the main feed line, and you know, a couple other bits and pieces. So yeah, the whole kit's there, but we're only using about half of it. And what we're going to do is put our fogger, which is right here on the kit, we're going to put our fogger into there. The throttle body sits there, it's going to spray straight into the throttle body, and all will be good with the world, hopefully. So this nitrous kit is adjustable from 75 to 125 horsepower. We've got a bunch of jets there, both fuel and nitrous. Obviously, we won't need the fuel jet because that'll be done through the injectors. But for a 100 shot, it says we need a 51 nitrous jet. So we will find our 51 and plug that in. That's a 40. That does us no good. All right, so that's our 51 nitrous jet. That will go in there where it says for nitrous, and then this line will hold it in and seal in the goodness. Now obviously we can't run that side open because it'll allow a vacuum leak, so we're going to have to seal it up. So we can do a couple of things. We can either find, you can get blank nitrous jets. Used to be a thing where legally you had to run blanked off nitrous jets if you were driving on the street. I don't know if that's such a thing anymore or whether they just, you know, shoot you on the spot if you run nitrous on the street. But yeah, we'll put a jet in there and we'll put a blanking cap on there and basically just seal it off so there's no vacuum leak. And then the solenoid will run at the other end of this. We'll have to mount that somewhere near the engine. But yeah, that's the basics of it. We run the line from the bottle to the solenoid to the nitrous jet. It's going to be controlled by the computer, so we'll have that wired to a relay that the Haltech will control. It's all pretty simple. Now we've just got to get it all in the car and make it work. Besides the nitrous, there's one other area we need to address with the car that we sort of discovered last weekend, and that is that the intercooler is kind of no longer up to the task. Like, this is the cooler that's in the car at the moment. It's 450 wide, 300 deep, and 100 mil thick. So that's an eBay cooler that we've had on the car for quite a while. It's done all right up to this point, but like I'm saying, we're at 822 horsepower at the rear, so we're showing 1,000 horsepower at the crank. That's right, we're at that point, and that cooler is not worthy anymore. This one is a cooler from our friends at ProFlow. So it's 600 wide, so 150 mil wider, 300 deep, and 100 mil thick. It's one of their delta fin designs, so you can see it's got the angled fins. It's quite a nice looking cooler, but I'm going to have to modify the car quite a bit to get that cooler in there. Like this one, obviously it's quite compact and the car's already made for it. This one, there's a bit more cutting involved, especially to fit the top side of the tanks. Also have to make a new lower bracket, you know, because the bracket not only supports the cooler but also supports the radiator. And well, we're on Wednesday afternoon. I have tomorrow. I probably don't have Friday. I'm running out of time. I've got to finish fitting the nitrous kit. The nitrous kit will aid the cooling of the intake charge, there's no doubt. So I think we're going to run with the Old Faithful for the moment, but bearing in mind that down the track we're going to have to finish modifying the car for that and get the bigger cooler in there. So that'll probably happen for summer nats, but for this weekend we'll go for this one, put this one back in, put the bracket back in, make it all happen, because it's not just that, it's also new cooler pipes, everything. There's so much involved in doing these little mods. You know, it feels like a little mod, you know, swapping the coolers, but new cooler pipes, new bracketry, mods to the car, and you know, basically it's the best part of a 2 to 3 day job, and I've got, you know, half a day to do it. I don't think I'm going to be able to do that. So let's throw that cooler back in the car, finish up the nitrous setup, and then we can see how it comes up on boost and what our intake charge temperatures are like. So yeah, back to the Old Faithful. So we've got our fogger, our lines, our solenoid all mounted up the front. Now it's time to look at mounting the bottle, and the boot is looking very crowded. We've kind of looked at this, and it's like to get it in, you've got to scoop it in and sit it there. And I don't think we're going to get the angle that we need. All right, so with these nitrous bottles, there's a tube that runs down, but it doesn't run straight down. If you follow the outlet is here, the tube runs down at an angle, so it finishes in line with this fitting, but close to this corner. So it has to be mounted at kind of that angle in the car. You can mount them upright, you know, even though we can't because we don't have room. But basically that is the best position to mount them in the car. And it's not going to go in the boot. So we're going to mount it right there. It's going in here with me. Full Fast and Furious style. Let's go see how it sits in the car. Right, now we just need some bolts to bolt it in. It's the one thing that doesn't come with the kit. So I'll need some nice high tensile bolts. I'll get some flat plates to put under the floor, probably some nylock nuts so they're never going to come loose. I think that is the smart way to do it, because last thing I need is a nitrous bottle floating around in the car with me. That ain't going anywhere. Cool. All right. Now it's line to the solenoid and some wiring, and we're done. Nice. Right. Now it's time for our nitrous line, and yeah, this could be pretty simple. I think there's even a grommet that lines up with the solenoid. Makes it easy. We've got a nitrous kit. Just need some wiring. But that's tomorrow's job. Well, it's the next day and we're continuing the nitrous install on the little Mazda. I've done a couple things. I've gone and got a shorter line for our nitrous bottle, because as you saw yesterday, we had a lot of line. We had a 16-foot line when in reality we only needed like a 5-foot line. So I have a line that is about 1600 mil long, and so that will connect to our solenoid. Well, actually it won't connect to that solenoid, it will connect to this solenoid, and this is a purge solenoid. Do we really need a purge solenoid? Yeah, nah, maybe not, but do we want a purge solenoid? Yes, we do. So the function of a purge solenoid is to get rid of any, well, let's say low pressure nitrous out of the line, and make sure you have good fresh nitrous right at the solenoid for when you click the button. So yeah, just purge off the dirty nitrous, have nice clean fresh nitrous, and yeah, it's also a good way of psyching out your opponent at the start line as well. So we're going to put that in the system, so that'll fit right there. In between the nitrous solenoid and the bottle. There's our other line. Now I'll tighten them up and then I'll do the wiring. Basically we'll need another relay and our little button on the dash to go psh, psh at the start line. Make sure we got fresh nitrous, and then when we bring it up on boost, it'll be like trans brake, throttle, boost, launch. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a little bit scary, to be honest, but very fun. Another important part of the equation is a nitrous pressure gauge. So you want nitrous to run in the sort of 850 to 950 psi mark. We'll see where we go with this. You know, out here with the bottle out here in the sun, it's probably going to be, you know, pretty easy to get the pressure up. We may have to keep an eye on it and make sure it doesn't get too high, because green is good, red not so good. So unfortunately these sniper bottles, they're kind of the cheaper end of the market, so they don't actually have a pressure gauge port in the bottle itself or in the bottle fitting. So you got to run it in the line that comes from the bottle, so you won't know your pressure until you turn your bottle on. Anyway, we'll screw that onto the line. So we've just completed the install of our purge valve. It's pretty simple. Like I said, it just fits between the nitrous solenoid and the line. We've just bent up here so it runs out the middle of the bonnet. Pretty simple. I'll just crack open the valve on the bottle. So I've mounted the button just down next to the trans brake arming switch. So this switch arms the trans brake, this switch purges the nitrous, and there's your trans brake button on the shifter. So we'll power up the circuit. All right, I'll just make sure it doesn't shoot me in the eye. Oh, oh, hello. We have a purge. Wow, that's pretty impressive. All right, now one last thing. I just got to wire up I've got most of the relay wired up. I just need to wire it up to the ECU, assign the DPO for it, and we should be right to go. This is getting exciting. Let's do that again. Oh, I'm going to use up the whole bottle just purging it. All right, that's fun. Okay, let's finish up the wiring. Yesterday, we finished installing the nitrous kit on our little Mazda. So solenoids, lines, fogger, relay, wired up to the Haltech, it's all ready to go. And then last night we got Zane to come in and do his magic as well. So there's a lot going on in that Haltech, and you know, it's a lot of black magic. So what happens is when you hit that trans brake button, the engine's trying to send it to an RPM limit, you know, so it's holding on the trans brake, going for an RPM limit, it's activating the nitrous, but then it has to shut the nitrous off before it gets to that limit, so we're not on the limiter on the nitrous. And then in amongst all that, it's telling the ECU to supply more fuel for the engine, you know, because we've got 100 shot of nitrous going through there. If you don't give it the fuel it needs as well, it's going to melt the pistons. So much going on. And then it's also got our rotary dial switch, which Zane has adjusted the RPM limits on that rotary dial so we can dial in what RPM we launch at. So much going on. It all works now. We'll prove it works because it's pretty awesome. It comes up on boost so quickly. So let's get in there and see what it sounds like. So there we have it, it works. So the nitrous brings it up on boost, on the line, and once we let go of the trans brake, she will fire off down the track. So the plan is to, like I said, race this at the Saturday night twilight drags at Heathcote Park. Because we're getting into summer and it is getting so hot during the day that they're going to do some night stuff and it should be pretty interesting. So looking forward to it, and hopefully looking forward to an 8-second pass. But you're going to see that on a future episode of Carnage.